with liberty and justice for all.
For those of you who choose to join us, we'll say a quick prayer. Father, we simply thank you for giving us an opportunity today to come and do what's best for the people. And we ask that you bless our choices and guide us through this day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now we'll move on to our roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Holzhausen.
Here.
Commissioner Root.
Here.
Commissioner McMaster.
Here.
Commissioner Pasquarelli.
Here.
Commissioner Roth.
Here.
Chairman Barks is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Here. Thank you. Now, we will cancel our presentation for today. I do not believe that will be happening, so now we'll move on to approval of agenda.
I'll make a motion to add agenda item A and other agenda items below.
We have a motion? Support for that motion. Is there any discussion before we vote to add to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of adding those items to the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, we'll add those to the agenda then. And so now we'll move on to the approval of minutes. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes of the October 18th, 2018 Board of Commissioners meeting?
So moved.
Motion. Support. Now we have a second. Is there any discussion, discrepancies, anything you want to talk about in the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passed. We'll move on to the approval of the bills.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve invoice edit report dated 10/17/2018, the amount of $2,230,991.24. 10/17/2018, the amount of $438. 10/17/2018, the amount of $40.75. 10/24/2018, the amount of $206,613,046. 10/25/2018, the amount of $582,432.58. 11/1/2018, the amount of $43,297.65. 11/2/2018, the amount of $523,337.31. 11/7/2018, the amount of $963,054.91. Another one from 11/7/2018, the amount of $10,354.54. Wire transfers dated 10/31/2018, the amount of $245,851. And a wire transfer from 11/7/2018, the amount of $300,931.19. And asset warrants to be drawn for treasury for same.
We have a motion to pay the bills.
Support.
Now second. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Pasquarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Roth.
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen. Commissioner Chairman Barks is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes. Motion passed. Now we'll move on to an opportunity for the public to address the board. This is the first opportunity. As yesterday, we'll be limited to 3 minutes. It does seem like it's sometimes that we're pushing you through, wanting you to get off the floor, but that's not the case. We'll have it timed. Madam Clerk will time it, and when we hit 0, I'll simply hit the gavel, and I'll do it for everyone so we don't feel like there's favoritism happening or anything like that. So that said, we're on to our first public speaker, Jean Patton, 7861 West Butte, Perry, Michigan.
Well, I debated whether to even say anything or not tonight, but I decided one last crack at it. I have 4 major points that I am worried about this rezoning. Number 1, Woodhull Township does not have any M1 industry. Doesn't mean it couldn't, but it doesn't. And I would prefer, if at all possible, that we could keep the township in the business that we've kept it in, with the most being an M1 zone. Number 2, last night I made you very angry when I said I was tired of listening to the 69 corridor thing. I probably didn't explain myself very well, and I will try again tonight to tell you what I meant. I hear nothing but this economic development. I understand that. I'm not against progress. I'm not against change, and I'm not against development. But what we have is 20 acres in the middle of a residential area, and if you look at the Woodhull Township boundaries on Lansing Road, there is no real place for development except this 20 acres. The rest is homes and it's wetland. There is nothing that's going to be developed in the very near future. That's where I stopped yesterday. And apparently you thought that I was just anti-progress. I'm not. I should have went on to tell you that we have, from the very beginning of this process, said that if you drive 5 or 6 miles down the road east to Perry, you will find something that is on your master plan, and it's called an industrial park. That's exactly what development and community should be. You have a place for it, and that's where it should be. Actually, there's space available there. It's close to expressway exits. I don't see the need to put a business in the middle of a bunch of houses when you have other space available. I wonder what's going to happen to the community, and I don't see much of anything as an improvement. You're going to have a building, but you have a specialty product being produced. It's going to not be a benefit to the neighborhood because it's either a one-time buy or it's not anything that the neighbors are going to really need. They hire 5 to 7 people at $12 to $15 an hour. I call that minimum wage. They're not going to make enough money to really add to the area. We have no restaurants, we have no gas stations, we have no bars to go to after you finish work. So where are they going to go? They're going to go to Perry. And what's in Perry but what I just said, an industrial park where this should be in the first place. The last thing I'll say is that I worry about a slippery slope.
Thank you. And thank you for respecting the order of the room. I appreciate it. We'll move on to Nancy Robinson, 7946 West Beard Road, Perry.
It's just going to be short. I've said this, and all of us have said this over and over. I just want to say again, we don't have an M1. There is no, if you do approve this, there is no other area in our township that would allow that on the 69 corridor. You can't develop the north side of 69 because there's no access roads there. There's a lot of land that's for sale on that side, but there's no access road. So here you are picking on this 20 acres here to rezone. That is the only part on that corridor that's even acceptable for that. The only way other businesses can come in there on the Lansing Road is if you start taking out the homes that are there, or the current businesses. And none of those businesses have very much property. They're just small little businesses on like 2-acre pieces of land. So I'm just saying, I really hope you consider what you're doing to Woodhull Township. So I have, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sandra Perkins, 7475 West Beard, Perry.
Yes, the only thing I have to say as a resident in Woodhull Township, I think it's a very poor fit for our township. I just want, that's all I've got to say, it's a poor fit.
Thank you. Marcia Copeland, 7235 West Beard, Shaftesbury, Michigan.
Hello, everybody. Jobs are a good thing. Money coming in to our county is a very good thing. We all want that, but it needs to be done responsibly. And it is very clear to me and to many residents who can't be here who do oppose this, but they can't be here because they still work. But the changing this property to light industrial just to accommodate someone who bought property fully knowing it was not zoned for the use he intended would be irresponsible in my opinion, and my husband's, I might say. This is not in line with the county's master plan, so why do we have a master plan if it's just going to be ignored? Companies like this need to be in areas that are already zoned for it. Look at Fowlerville and Weberville. They have industrial parks there that are beautiful. They do amazing there. Full. Just down the road, as people have said, there are several parcels that for sale properly zoned. There they would be close to 69 and 52. Restaurants, gas stations, grocery store, hardware store, library, bank, schools. That is where it should be. It's been stated that there would be some conditions attached to this rezoning. I'm sure you are very aware that conditions can be removed at any time. It's happened before. Lastly, you are opening a door that would allow more rezoning requests, and you won't have a leg to stand on to stop it. Once that door is open, you can't close it. And this will seal the fate of our small community. Now, if I have just a few seconds more, a question from my husband who could not be here tonight. In the interest of transparency, the commissioners owe residents an explanation of what a no to a rezoning request looks like. It would save a lot of angst to have an explanation of what a no appears to you. Can anybody answer that?
It's not a question and answer at this time, sorry.
Okay. Will you answer it at any time?
I'll answer it when it comes time to vote on it.
Thank you.
This time we'll move on to Suzanne Parker, 7389 West Beard Road.
Before my time starts, can I assure that I have the attention of all the commissioners?
Ma'am, your time starts.
My time starts, will he, I wish he would, okay.
Okay.
All right, we're in this, we're all here tonight because the county failed in some of its duties. I've got two plans here. I've got the Woodhull Township Master Plan that was adopted in 2013. I've got the Shiawassee County Master Plan that was adopted in 2016, 3 years after the Woodhull Township Master Plan. If I go to the Woodhull Township Master Plan, I have where it says future land use, I have an actual map that shows future land use. So right now, this property is zoned agriculture and residential/residential. Future land use is low-density residential. That's what's on here. When I go to look at future land use in the Shiawassee County Master Plan, here's the map. Anybody see a map there? Nobody sees a map there, okay? What you've done, it says that it's based on a number of factors, including existing plans. When I asked about this quite a while ago, why isn't there an actual map? I was told it was because the map takes the township maps, and it uses all of the township maps. If the township map is not in line with what the county wants, then the county should come to the township and negotiate. We've got the 69 corridor going through Woodhull Township. If there are properties along the 69 corridor that you feel should have a future land use of industrial, then negotiate that with us. let us say, okay, property going back a certain distance. And in the case of the Feitners, it might be a matter of maybe of the 20 acres, maybe the top 5 or 10 acres, the north part, would be on future land use would be industrial, and the south part that borders on Beard Road, future land use would be residential. If you guys would take the time to do that, then there wouldn't be a question. We wouldn't have all these people coming here as you try to override what we've got in our actual plans. So my request to the commissioners tonight is that you deny this request, that you then get your butts in gear and work with the townships, specifically those that have property along the I-69 corridor, decide what pieces of property you would like to designate. And then they can come back with their proposal.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to Suzanne Parker. And that was Suzanne.
Oh, I get another one?
7907 West Beard.
Who was there?
This is, I'll give you these two.
Yeah.
John Williams. 7907 West Beard.
Evening, guys. Good to see you again. Look, I'm starting to know you. Been up here so much. I'll try to be quick on this because I only get, 3 minutes?
Yes.
I can talk fast. Okay. One of the things I thought of last night after I left here was when Commissioner Ruff brought up the fact that why are we rushing this thing? This thing looks like it's on a freight train. There's no stops on it. It's just flying down the road. When it went 4-0 local, 5-0 local, and then 4-2 against with the county, then why wasn't the next step the appeal? We went right to this, which doesn't seem right. It looks like we circumvented part of the system that we shouldn't have done. And if it's something you guys change, we're not following protocol. If we're not following protocol, does that lead possibly litigation problems later because we didn't do what we were supposed to do? Dot our I's, cross our T's. There's other opportunities out there. I think that is what should be filled first before we go ahead and find another spot and say, hey, farmland, let's change it over, let's make it industrial. They get it at a better price. The poor guys out there trying to sell their industrial commercial are getting undercut tremendously. As you know, the other day, 20 acres for $700,000, 20 acres for $175,000. So they're not, I don't know how they're working with the EDC because they're undercutting the heck out of those guys. Yeah, I guess it's slow down. So I think instead of voting for or against this tonight, I think what you ought to do is table it, make it go back to the rezoning appeal board because obviously he didn't even fight it. Why wouldn't he fight it if he got voted down? Because the perception is maybe it's already done. And that's not what it should be. And right now I see there's a lot of animosity toward Commissioner Coscarelli. I mean, I'm sorry I voted for you before because I put you in a bad spot, it sounds like here. And Woodhull Township. And it's just the way its perception is. And it shouldn't be that way. We should see the big picture. Last night you were talking about your family, didn't want your kids to move away. I used to have Grand Ledge, Portland, and Grand Rapids. One's in South Carolina, one's in Kansas City now. But it's their dream, it's not my dream. So you have to adjust to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila Mendel. 77 West Beard Road, or 7700, excuse me.
Hi, I thank all my neighbors and everyone that's come. I grew up in the Shasburg area. This property is 2 properties over from where I live. I do have petition of some neighbors that have, that we have, and I'm most over here too. Oh, that's good. So pretty much everyone else has said what I wanted to say. I just want that to be considered too. Thank you.
Next we'll move on to Ed Irvin. Eddie, you have the floor. 3 minutes though.
I can hear hardly nothing. I got one hearing aid in. You have to stand up and sit down. Don't really. I got bad back. My stomach's bothering me. Listen, I couldn't figure out, sheriff is probably the only one that might be able to answer this question. I got pulled over the other day, can't see out my back van window, but I had 2 good mirrors. $185 fine, 3 points on my thing. My van goes up and down with stuff in the back because I got a veteran's license that says, the veteran Ed Urban has the right to hawk, vend, and peddle his own goods, wares, and merchandise within the state of Michigan in compliance with, I don't know, stuff. But, and I forgot to tell the policeman this too. I forgot it. I had that. But now this is in yesterday's paper, and it says Ben Frederick put a lawsuit called bad driver's tax to repeal the very costly driver responsibility fees asserted to the traffic violations and clear any outstanding liability on individuals subject to them. These levies were imposed in 2003 to avoid state spending costs by increasing revenue. It says the Senate bad driver tax repeal and amnesty passed 36-1 in the state Senate and stuff. So is that, that ticket that he gave me was called not reckless, careless driving. So I don't know. See, I can have that full with everything in the back, just like a panel van. So I don't know what's going. I'm going to have to schedule a thing to go to court about it, but a small hearing. I mean, impartial hearing. But does this have anything to do with me or not? I do not know, and I don't know if you even saw this or not in yesterday's paper. I read it I think I read it right. So that's what was in yesterday's paper. I was hoping Ben Frank would be here today. I could talk to him. I've been to his house quite a few times, but not, So, and I got a standing hunting permit to shoot out of my car, and I also have a Crohn's disease card for private gas stations to let me use their toilets. But I never have to use that one.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
So nobody, I don't get an answer tonight or anything?
Sure, I can meet with you after the meeting.
I don't know if I can hold it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I need a soft chair.
I can meet with you after the meeting.
I'm gonna set the soft chair. All right, I can walk.
Is there anybody else in the
Can't lay down
who
and
would
I
like to
can't
address
sit
the
down.
board?
I can walk.
Mr. Chair, I've received a letter to the commission from one of the residents in Woodhall Township that they asked to be read for the record, so if I may. This is from Gary and Karen Whalen. They're at 7231 West Beard Road. It's just a few houses down from the Shaftesbury Hall. Dear Commissioners, we are writing to state our opposition to the proposed zoning change from residential to industrial in Woodhall Township. We have not been provided any new evidence that shows that this change is not in direct conflict with existing uses or with surrounding zoning. Additionally, it is clear to us that the proposed change is completely inconsistent with the existing land uses, not supported by the Township Land Use Plan, and not supported by the residents in this area. We fully expect that the new owner will completely develop this area in due time for industrial uses, which can legally range a huge gambit from small industrial plants to industrial recycling plants. This keyhole development will expand over time, industrializing an area that is currently agricultural and residential. It will clearly decrease all property values in the area and completely change the character of this area, which is why many of us choose to live here. Additionally, the industrialization in this area is also completely incompatible with the minimal supporting infrastructure in this area, which is adequate for existing zoned uses, but not for this development. This development belongs in already zoned industrial areas in Perry that are fully prepared for such purposes. Since we cannot afford to attend the board's meeting in person, we are requesting in writing that the Shiawassee Board of Commissioners deny this wholly inappropriate zoning proposal and have this development proposal moved to an acceptable location such as the industrial park in Perry. We also request this letter be read at the meeting and entered into the decision record for this rezoning request. Sincerely, Gary Carrick.
Thank you, Commissioner Cascarelli. We want to pass it down, Madam Clerk, so she has it for record. Letter to the official record. All right, thank you. At this time, we'll now move on to committee reports.
Mr. Marks?
Yes, sir.
I also have a letter I would like
Okay,
you read into
go
that
ahead.
first. This was a letter sent to myself and Chairman Jeff Bartz. It's from Robert Collard, who lives at 8388 Winnegar Road, Perry, Michigan, Woodhull Township. Hello, Dan and Jeff. I do not plan to attend the meeting tonight, but would like to add the following comments for the record. I believe perceptions or claims of increased noise and traffic impacts are completely unfounded. As the owner indicated, a very limited semi-delivery schedule on that manufacturing would be inside the building. With one exception, the in-ground house to the east, all other residents are a considerable distance from the site, especially subdivisions. Any claims of direct impacts to subdivision residents is completely off base. As was indicated Monday evening, traffic on the adjacent freeway including trucks entering and leaving the rest area and on Lansing Road represents an overriding noise level far above any that can be generated by this project. Increased traffic is a non-issue, also as 30 to 40 cars coming to the facility is not going to be noticeable. I do believe potential noise and visual impacts to the east residents could be further addressed by considering screening vegetation. There already exists a tall row of evergreens west of the house, presumably on the resident's property. Consideration of further plantings by the dot company along the east line may be warranted and should further mitigate any potential noise and visual issues. Please add these comments to the record and feel free to quote them or share them with the board. As a side note, I could elaborate on my experience with projects such as this, in addition to my 25 years of preparing environmental impact statements on major MDOT projects. I was also designated as responsible for official MDOT review of other local, state, and federal projects, including Department of Ag drainage projects, DNR boat launches, Army Corps dredge projects, etc., etc. Thank you, Robert Collard.
Thank you.
This is
If
going to
you
be
want to pass it around.
one will be passed down to the clerk.
To the official record as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. At this time, we will now move on to committee reports, and because I don't have my list of all of our committees in front of me, I'll just go right down the line of all of us commissioners, and whatever committee we attend, we'll do a short report, and then move on from there. So, Commissioner McMaster, you
Okay, I'll start Michigan Works. I have a meeting tomorrow morning. I'm here for that. Capital Area Community Services. Most recent news is they're updating the warehouse, put in some cooling equipment, refrigeration equipment to handle additional food that will be delivered from the federal government that gets distributed to all 4 counties. Planning Commission, obviously we're in the middle of that right now. The River Coalition did not meet this last month, it was canceled. We're still waiting for designation for the Shiawassee River from both the federal and the state to be an acknowledged waterway trail. I believe those are all my committees I sit on.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bruff, you have the floor.
I unfortunately missed the VAAA meeting last month. Shiawassee Health and Wellness, nothing really outstanding there. We had a combined finance and committee prepared board meeting, and it was pretty mundane. My townships, I got nothing.
I can't add a lot to that. I was unable to attend last month's meeting of the Midwest Michigan Trailway Authority due to a conflict. I did attend both Perry Township and Woodhull Township board meetings, as well as the City of Perry's council meeting.
Anything? Press it down.
No, I just gave them an update, a lot of the issues that we're talking about up here, prison feasibility, the MERS issue with respect to our legacy costs and pension, and some of the other things that we've been talking about over the last couple of months.
Okay, thank you for that report. Commissioner Rea.
Let's see, I-69 corridor didn't meet this month. 911, set our schedule of meetings for next year. Of course, I don't know that I'll be on the board, but we do have a few new appointments that'll be coming before this board to either reappoint or add new people to 911. The schedule is now going from quarterly to 6 meetings a year now due to the increase with kind of the pension issue. And once we get that straightened out, I think maybe it'll go back to quarterly the following year. But we're also looking for commitments from all of our 911 board members to be in attendance, to be able to make it. We've had a few that cannot make it or it's conflicting with their schedule, so we'd like to have everyone on the board able to be present and be there so that we can get this business taken care of. That's about it from 911. Well, I guess the MERS is broken out into new divisions for them. We're still just kind of waiting on the final numbers for that. Health board, we've got a few agenda items on today. Building, as everyone's seen, is going up, set to, we're a month back now. It was February. It sounds like it's going to be March to be occupied once the elevator gets in there. Occupied in February, but elevator won't be there until March, so that's going to hold things up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have from the health board, if you have anything to share, but.
I have questions regarding the 911 board. Hearing some rumblings of people who are disappointed from that board with the commissioners handling the situation regarding the MERS. I think the rumor is that we used their money to pay sheriff's deputies for all these years. I know that that's kind of an inflated understanding of what really is going on. Can we get a better picture of where we are on that and what the outcome is going to be regarding that? Or are we still kind of...
Well, we're still kind of navigating through it, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to end up being a wash with the cost of living that's owed. The difference is that the county's been paying for their employees. I mean, they may have paid for some sheriffs, and I guess I'm speculating. I don't know that for sure. It's been years. It's been years ago. Recently, no, they've not been paying for sheriff's employees. But we're still looking at that. I mean, I know that's kind of an issue on the 911 board, that when we meet, they seem to be okay, and then when we leave, they're very, they have choice words for this board and how we're handling things. But the idea is we are handling it. You know, there's not a fast way, there's not an easy button to just push and this be done. So we're doing the best we can. We have to wait on MERS. We can't, change the divisions. We can't go do the actuarial reports. I mean, we're kind of on their timetable, and sometimes the board members here don't get that it's not something we can they can say, we want an answer, and then we give it to them tomorrow, We're kind of beholden to a bureaucracy in Lansing that takes their time, and, at the end of the day, they don't care where the money comes from or who owes the money. They just are going to give you a number and say this is what it is. So, and if there is a mistake on their end on the how low we were funded and how much we're actually paying, that's not something they'll ever. They're not going to work harder to admit an error on their end. But I mean, this board, everything that's come before us, this board's been supportive of getting it done, and we're almost there. I mean, the divisions are broke out now. We're just kind of, I would imagine we're waiting on the final, just an actual final hard figure that's going to say what is unfunded, what is active, and then we're done. And we're there, hopefully by the end of the year.
So that would be the timetable, is hopefully by the end of the year. Do you have anything to add regarding that issue?
Other than he's correct, and what we'll get is a report similar to what we received on the E2 2.5 COLA issue. It'll state what's been added unfunded and what the current funding is for just those items broken up. But I think it's fair to say we should get that by the end of the year. Again, MERS works on their own schedule.
They do. Thank you. Commissioner Holzhausen.
Yes, I'm on the Senior Citizen Board and the Health and Wellness Board. The Senior Board, they have the Meals on Wheels on every day, and working through that good. Also down in Morris, they put a new on one addition that's kind of sloped, and they put a special foam on there with epoxy on top, and hopefully get rid of our leaks down there. We've had real problems down there with that. Just super maintenance on things. The freezer went bad, and had to get a new freezer and things like that. On the Health and Wellness Board, I think we some new vehicles that we did, and we're gonna get some of those, because we have transport people around the county, and also we worked on the snow removal process, took bids and got things like that done, so things are moving on good over there. We got a full board now, so.
Yeah, one thing to add to that report as well, and Gary wasn't on the finance end of the Council on Aging, but we weren't encouraged, we were told that we had to bring all employees up that were under $10 an hour up to $10, which there were 14 employees, I guess. About $26,000, something to that effect. It was a large amount of money, but we were told we had to do that. That's the new minimum wage, Michigan minimum wage, and it jumps over the next 4 years. I think it tops out at $12.50. So we did do that, and then it was approved in the following meeting. So all employees at Shiawassee Council on Aging are over $10 an hour, or at $10 or better.
Thank you for that update. Is there any other commissioner or the committee report they'd like to add? I've got nothing myself to add to the discussion, so with that hearing none, we'll move on to the committee of the whole, and forgive me, which one of you gentlemen is the vice chairman of that committee?
Commissioner McMaster.
Commissioner McMaster, then in that case, I will turn it forward to Commissioner McMaster.
Mr. Chair, move that item A, approve the minutes of November 7th, 2018, committee of the whole meeting.
Second.
Motion and now a second for Commissioner Root. Is there any discussion, discrepancies, anything we'd like to add or talk about? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passed. We will put on record the minutes of November 7th, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting. And with that, we'll now move on to our Economic and Physical Development Report. Commissioner McMaster.
Item A, move to approve the 2018 Shiawassee County Annual Apportionment Report as prepared by County Equalization and direct the spread of taxes and millage rates to be spread on taxable values.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion over this item?
Mr. Preston, anything to add to this since the election?
I have nothing additional.
Okay.
What you're approving is good to go.
Okay.
So I assume that this is probably a roll call. Should be, so we'll turn it over to Madam Clerk. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brough,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Chairman Barks is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
Item B, move to adopt amendments to the Shiawassee County zoning map for property located in section 23, Woodhull Township, parcel ID number 013-23-300-001-03 and parcel number 013-23-300-001-04 from A2 agricultural production rural residential to M1 light industrial, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
A motion and a second. This item is now open for discussion. Commissioner Holzhausen.
I'd like to say something about the master plan. They say we have a master plan, and that's not written in gold. Just like I said, over in Hazelton Township, it was 100% agricultural ground, and they zoned it to trucking, and they're going to have several trucks going in and out there, maybe dozens and dozens of them, so it's going to be busy. So 13 and Eastern Road, and all of 13 down through there, any place is going to be it's farm ground, and someday any place is going to be commercial, it's going to be there. Wheeler lives around the area. He's got other places. He wanted to have it local where he lives, and he's going to have several jobs there. So it's really going to. Some of the trucking people are going to be paid $60,000 plus, so it's going to be a benefit for that. So things do get changed. In the same way, Bennington Township along 52, we had some businesses along there. That wasn't in their master plan. They didn't like those things changed, and we changed the zoning on them, and some of them are already trucking. So these master plans are not written in, like I said, gold ink. And also this plan, I understand that the people there township doesn't like it. I represent the whole county, not just Woodhull, not just my township and everything. I represent everybody in the whole county. And my feeling is anything that's gonna grow is gonna go along 69 or Lansing Road is a state highway, whether we like it or not, wherever we live. Those things are all gonna be changed in time, maybe not your times or our time. And they're gonna be changed. 52 is also gonna be, even though Bennington and some of those areas don't like it, they'll be changed the same way, like way out there, that's way over in the corner of Hazelton Township. That's commercial, and maybe there'll be some more commercial. Right now, they're putting in solar over there, so there might be some other commercial things going along that area. So things are changing all the time, and it's all going down the state highway. Whether we like those things or not, those things are going to change. So I'm trying to represent everybody in the whole county, not just certain people, my township that I live in. So those are my issues, and also I said I'd like to apologize to Mr. Pasquarelli. Yesterday I said that's why he got voted out, and maybe it was, but we've had a little feud back and forth when I was running, and I got it in the paper. I saved all those papers that he didn't know what I was doing and what I was voting for, and really cut me down. So I didn't find that paper, but I got stacks of them ever since I've been a commissioner. So I got all the papers that anything comes on, I got them all written down. So that's my piece.
Thank you, Commissioner Olshausen.
Thank you, Commissioner Olshausen, and I accept the apology.
Any other discussion on this item?
I do have a few things. I'll try to be brief. Again, first of all, I want to thank the residents of Woodhull Township that have been so diligent in presenting the facts. I think they're indisputable. I don't think we've covered that ground. So the facts are the facts. They're here to defend their property rights and their way of life. I also think there's a misconception about the residents in Woodhull Township that we're anti-development. I keep hearing this, and I just want to clarify, that's the furthest from the truth. That's why our township spent over $10,000 to update that master plan, pursuant to state law. I don't know how other townships pursue those updates, their level of interest. We're very interested and engaged in Woodhull Township in planning for the future in a thoughtful and smart way. That's why we spent, again, over $10,000 of taxpayers' dollars to do that. So why do we do that? With the goal that we're smart about future decision making and how we go about planning for that growth in a responsible way that respects everybody's property rights. And I think that's what you're hearing over the last 3 days is that they're not anti-development. It's not just say no. It's not just not in my backyard. It's we went through a very constructive and thoughtful, engaged process to arrive at a plan and a vision for our future. And all they're asking is that these commissioners respect the investments that have been made during those deliberations and engagement to arrive at a consensus document on what we would look like in the future. Recognizing it's 5 years old, and it is a living document, and they're not set in gold, as I mentioned last night. And I think it would be prudent to engage the SEDP folks. I think if this is their strategy to line up behind spot zoning, I think it really lacks vision in support of local planning efforts. And so, again, I don't want to rehash all the facts. You're all aware of what you're about to vote on here. I think if you vote in favor of this, it's the politically expedient vote to make. Again, processes be damned, whether it's Woodhull Township Planning Commission, Woodhull Township Board, or our own Planning Commission, who we appoint members of our community to represent us and walk through those reviews and have those deliberations so we're not micromanaging these kinds of decisions. I think it's a slippery slope for a lot of reasons. I think the smart choice at this point is in recognizing the potential for development along this corridor that we table this request and we ask the applicant, we ask Mr. Horvath to sit down with Woodhull Township and Kay and think about what do we want for the future of this corridor along here? What can we all get behind, recognizing that it's a negotiation? 5 years have passed, things do change, we are evolving, and development is occurring. And again, we're not anti-growth. We support growth in a responsible and thoughtful way. So there's not much else I can say that hasn't been said. I respect Mr. Feitner and his business. I think he's upstanding and proven success in how he runs his operations. I think he would be a great contribution and asset to Shiawassee County. I really believe that we can find a better solution here that satisfies our township plan, our county master plan, and respects the processes in place to arrive at smart decisions here. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coscarelli. Commissioner Brown.
I'm curious, did you get an answer to the zoning board of appeals question that you had yesterday? Because if you didn't, I would like to ask that question of Pete, if you could help us out.
Commissioner Brook, yeah, last night we talked about the ZBA and their role in this planning process and why they are not a body that reviews denials from the planning commission. And I think there was just some confusion about their role. So Pete, if you would.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair, it's okay.
Yeah, you may.
The zoning board of appeals would not look at this action. It's a legislative action by the board of commissioners. The zoning board of appeals will only look at a petition from a property owner concerning their application either for administrative variance, or pardon me, variance from, say, a property line setback, some provision in the zoning ordinance, or they would appeal an administrative decision. It used to be also that they could appeal the planning commission in their approval or disapproval of a special land use. But rezoning was never part of that. That's fully a legislative function that resides here with the board of commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Actually, yes,
Go on. Oh, you got more for him?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm here.
I got Pete. As I explained a little bit last night, I'm really torn with this vote. And once again, Commissioner Coscarelli kind of turned a light on in my head for a moment there. You made a comment about investments that these individuals have made in their community. Now, I would be quite the hypocrite if I didn't address this as a real estate agent, and I am a real estate agent. And one of the big factors that we talked about for 18 months on the wind turbines was the effect it would have on real estate values. This situation's a little different by a long shot. These aren't 400, 500, 600-foot towers going up. They're going to create a lot of noise and disruption in the world, but it is nonetheless, it's a business going into a residential area. I haven't done, any extensive study on this, so I'm really talking off the top of my head here. Anytime you introduce something that's different from the neighborhood, it always has that potential to affect real estate values. I can't say for certain that this business, it looks by the pictures like a wonderful looking business. I don't think it'd be terribly disruptive to the neighborhood, but nonetheless, it is a business in a residential neighborhood. So again, I'm still struggling with this vote, so. It may or may not have an effect on real estate values, and I realize many of you have said that you've been there since the 70s. That's a huge investment in the community, and I respect that. Okay?
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Anyone else? You have the floor.
Monday evening, when I was chairing the Economic Physical Development Committee, I asked for three things at the conclusion. One, I asked for the Feitners to come back, give us a footprint, maybe of the first 5 years where they thought their buildings were going to go, where they were going to be on the parcel. Myself and board members asked Justin to be prepared to talk about the role that the Economic Development Corporation plays, and he gave a presentation. The third part, I asked for members of the audience, the residents of the community, to work together in the next couple days, compile a list, bring it to the meeting Wednesday or tonight, of things they would like to see maybe changes, other restrictions, things we could maybe kind of work together, kind of come to a compromise to proceed with this project. I've not seen that list. Instead, it was thrown back on us as commissioners that we should negotiate with the township that doesn't have zoning. We have the zoning, and we should negotiate. And I don't know necessarily you want members of this board, maybe you do, negotiating or placing the zoning from Woodbury Road to exit 105, because I can tell you if I did it, it would be mostly, would be business and manufacturing, because that's where it needs to be. So maybe when I'm not commissioner next year, maybe I'll be on the planning commission or some other part of this, and I can work on redoing the master plan and zoning that all manufacturing or business along Lansing Highway. So I'm disappointed that nobody has come to us with that list of items to negotiate or to work together to make this project feasible. Seems like it's all or nothing, and I was hoping to have people maybe suggest setbacks or more evergreen screenings or dirt berms or whatever. And we haven't been provided with any of that, so.
I did it.
So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner McMaster.
Mr. Chair,
You may have.
so Commissioner McMaster, of course you represent this body on the Planning Commission, and you were a no vote when this came before the Planning Commission. If you could enlighten this body and the attendees tonight a little bit about the discussion the Planning Commission had, which resulted in a 4-2 vote against, including your own view at that time.
I was a no vote because I mistakenly thought that the road to the to the west, I thought it was Beardsley Road, not Warner Road, and I thought there was a subdivision literally just north of, on the other side of Beard Road. That's not the case. Been out to the property a couple times, I've listened to the noise, I've driven around the neighborhood, I've had some conversations with residents, I've had conversations with the applicants, and that's the reason I've changed my vote. So,
just one final.
and even if I had voted the other way, it still would have ended up here. So, because it would have been a 3-3, so it would have been a no, and then it would have been forwarded to us.
Just one final comment, regardless of how this vote goes. I think it's been a real education and eye-opener for our whole community, and especially this commission, on the importance of planning, the need to make investments going forward, why we have the planning process, the importance of respecting the planning process, ways to avoid these types of not the most constructive engagements, when property rights are being called into question, winners and losers are being selected against the wishes of previous planning members. It's not good governance. It doesn't respect the principles of why we were elected to be here. And I hope future commissions take a different view going forward and make different decisions. And spot zoning is not a good thing. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Just one quick recognition, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name, but you can speak. So I'm going to speak for you. Yes, you did bring forth, which is the very question that I asked the property owner last night. Is there a possibility, and Pete, maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't, maybe you'll show sides if you do, I don't know, but the question I ask is that doesn't have a lot of frontage, but it's deep, and it goes from Lansing Road to Beard Road. And as you said, and as I asked the question last night, is it possible to zone half of that property, the Lansing Road property, back to an agreed upon depth, and leave the Beard Road frontage alone, leave it as A2? Is that a possibility to split it half, or does the whole parcel have to be rezoned?
The Board of Commissioners being presented with a legislative action. The petitioner has applied for the entire property to be rezoned. The Planning Commission held a public hearing for the entire property to be rezoned. However, the Board of Commissioners is well within its right to change the boundaries as long as it stays within the legally described area that was noticed in the public hearing. So you can reduce the zoning district area. You could have it go to a certain distance south. You could do that. I would caution you from requesting any conditions from the applicant. You are allowed to do conditional rezoning, but you can't say, Mr. Feitner, will you do this? Mr. Feitner can say, after hearing you talk about certain things, well, that sounds like a good idea, I will offer that. But you cannot legitimately have a negotiation about conditions and make them part of your conditions. They have to be offered by the applicant. You can have discussions about particular items, and then he can offer conditions, but you can't violate the conditions towards him. But you can change the district boundaries because that's in your purview. That's not a condition. You just decide the size and shape of the district boundary, if you're approving it.
So, is it appropriate then for us to ask? I'm sorry.
You do not have to ask him to change.
I know
the
we don't
size.
have to. I'm asking if that's appropriate, could we, to see where he would stand on something like that, if this commission would consider changing the boundaries.
Especially since it's been discussed.
We did talk
He's had
about it.
discussions at other meetings about it. I know members of this board have had discussions with him about it. So can we see if he wants to comment, and not ask him of anything, but if he wants to comment about anything?
I will comment. At the second township meeting, I offered, because that was an issue, I offered to do 2, 3, 4 acres, whatever, something with a reason on Deer Road and leave that agricultural residential. The township treasurer told me I could not do that. That was my answer at that time. So everything that they have brought up, I have addressed. And now it's to the point of anything I say is never good enough to do it. And so I'm still willing to do something as long as I get approval so we can maybe move forward. But I don't want this thing to hang in limbo forever and forever and this controversy go on. We want to be good neighbors. And I offered that at the second meeting and they told me no.
Well,
So
they
what
may
am I
have had a
supposed to
change
do?
of heart because it was brought up, and it is a resident of Woodhull Township that brought it up. And you're saying you offered
The
that.
treasurer,
So it sounds like we have a compromise, if anybody's willing, and I am, to make a motion to change the zoning boundary. I need a little consultation as to how deep you would need.
I have a question.
Okay?
For Pete, actually. Isn't it within legal right that you can, since we have 2 parcels, you could break off 2.5 acres on one and 2.5 acres on the other?
Yes.
Isn't that standard, or could be standard?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Sorry.
Each parcels can have mixed zoning. I wouldn't necessarily in this case do it by acreage. I think the only straight line that you have is really, or east-west line is Beard Road there. I guess we would have to change the legal description, but you could generally describe that as the whole properties as petitioned, except the south 300 feet of those properties, and something to that effect, but I don't have the dimensions in my head of the property right now.
This is why I don't take stuff home and leave it out here.
Mr. Chairman, and while he's looking at this, it's also been brought up, is this a wise decision for us to take up tonight, or is this something that maybe we should talk about more? Obviously we can end it. We can make a motion that sounds like Peter said that we can do that, or should we take a little more time with this? We do seem to have at least one individual from Woodhull Township that has suggested that if we split it off and left half of it agriculture, or certainly, we can't poll everybody, that's not proper. I'm not even supposed to be talking to you right now. So, I think we have 2 choices here. I think we can go ahead, we can make a motion to only rezone a portion of it, or we can make a motion to table until we get more clarification. It sounds like we have a conference going on over there, maybe we don't have to wait. I'm just throwing it out there. I'd like it resolved myself.
Move forward, and they work this out after.
That is the motion on the table as it stands. Unless we get a motion otherwise, we'll be voting on it as is.
I make a motion that we move forward. I call the question.
Well, then we have to have a vote on the question. I think
If there's no, only if there's an objection to.
Object to calling it the question.
Yes. I think you're rushing it. Give us a minute.
I did that before and they overruled me, so.
Then then you take it to a vote on calling it, and a 2/3 vote will end debate and take it to a question. But it takes a 2/3 vote.
Okay, roll call it. Roll calling whether we are going to call the question and take it straight to vote or whether we'll continue deliberation.
This is roll call for.
To discover whether we are going to vote immediately.
And
or
debate
whether
and
we're-
proceed to the question.
Wait, clarify the question.
Calling the question immediately forces us to vote on the issue. That 2/3 have agreed that that is the case.
Okay. So a yes vote is,
Yes would be
and a no is?
no as we continue deliberation.
Okay.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
No.
Commissioner Brough,
No.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
No.
Chairman Barnes is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes. Motion fails. We'll continue deliberation. At this time, I've closed the floor to anyone outside. If we want, as a board, decide what to do, we're not gonna let the public get involved.
Can we include
You
Pete
can
in?
absolutely ask Pete, that's, as a commissioner, I'll let
So-
you guys ask questions, yes.
So there were two things you asked. You said to either table this or to change the zoning right now.
According to Pete,
Or do we have
telling
to
us
table
that we
this to
can
change the
actually
zoning?
change the zoning right now, here tonight, we can do that and it will stand. And that would, in my mind, only
There's
one
still not
person.
gonna be happy. They
Only
still
one,
won't want
I'm
it.
talking right now,
Well, I can talk if I want to, so.
not over me. One person doesn't represent Woodhull, I understand that. But she happened to bring up the very idea, the very thought, the very question that I had. And he was in agreement to it. We all heard he was in agreement to it. There's no reason. If he's in agreement to it, and people are generally happy with that, why would we not do that and end this controversy now?
Does it
You know,
set
and it
a
would-
precedent?
it would-
moving
We're
forward?
setting a precedent by
Because let's
rezoning.
make no mistake, we are spot zoning.
Exactly.
Right.
So now we're gonna be spot zoning and then having an open negotiation as to how we
Yeah,
can make sure.
we sure are.
Now
But it's a
we're on an
compromise.
absolute slippery slope in my opinion.
Well,
So
but on
is
the
what
flip
we're
side, we're providing a barrier to all the residents that are to the southeast, the south, and the southwest. He already said he was gonna plant pine trees, so now there's gonna be pine trees, it's gonna be planted, it would be zoned agricultural residential, so there will not be manufactured buildings back that far. And if somebody wants to buy it, build a house there, and listen to the noise of the highway, I guess they could do that, but in my mind, it just becomes a green strip that's really never gonna be used for anything other than
Yeah.
barrier shielding.
There's no use ever again forever. I understand these people love, maybe like that, I think they won't always be around.
Right.
Okay, no, neither will we. And so someday, someone's gonna inherit this property that's got a little strip of.
They cut the trees down and build a
That's-
house.
You talk about bad governance, now I.
No, you cut the trees down and build a house then.
If it's even bigger, I'm building a house.
You can sell it, cut the trees down and build a house.
And all we're really talking about is Nancy, you know, if there is gonna be a road rezoning in the future, it'll be along Lansing Road, not Beard Road. We're talking about Lansing Road frontage. And that's all we're doing, would be accommodating that thought process. Yes, I think it's a little goofy what we're doing, but we've done goofy things before. Gary has brought them up. All the things that we've rezoned and spot zoned, Gary has confirmed. So we're not setting any precedent here. We've done it, and we've done it, and we've done it, and we'll do it again. And you all will do it again. So there's no precedent being set here. We're just continuing what craziness we've done in the past. But in this case, it's a compromise with the township. it's a compromise with an industrial strip potentially in the future along Lansing Highway, which parallels 69, which everybody's in agreement should be light industrial or whatever. It's the Beard Road people that are the ones that, you know, here's a great compromise. You know, we can set a precedent that way. Yeah, let's rezone along Lansing Highway and leave Beard Road alone. If they want to be residential, leave it residential. It'll also give the property owner the opportunity, maybe he could sell that piece off and sell, you know, help pay for the property that he bought, help pay for his building. Somebody can build a house there if they want, everybody's happy.
So,
I'm done now. I said my piece.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, but please allow me to run the meeting. I know we all get excited, but I got.
I'm done now.
That's it. We have no absolute offer brought forth by the applicant at this time, but Pete, not that you're his representative or anything
No.
like that, but if you have anything to add, now's the time.
And let me clarify that. My caution was if you're negotiating like extra trees or anything, you have the absolute right without Mr. Fleitner offering to change the boundaries of the district. I think it was a courtesy to have me talk with him about what would be possibly feasible. What we reviewed was the A2 district and the minimum 2.5 acre requirement. The complexities of the A2 district do not allow me to say to him that there will be a buildable lot there available off of Beard Road. He's accepting of that. If we can have, if he can do, if you do your rezoning as legally described, except the south 200 feet of both parcels. That would give him a potential, no guarantee, residential building lot off of Beard Road.
So that's buildable, that's what you would consider a buildable lot.
I will not guarantee that. Our ordinance is fraught with issues when it comes to interpretation on that 2.5 acre minimum. But that, the south 200 feet of both of those parcels has the potential to be a buildable residential lot. He understands it's not guaranteed, but this would protect the south 200 feet of both those parcels.
So the motion would be to rezone as stated, except for the south 200 feet of each parcel, currently described.
And under those calculations, what do those two new lots become acreage size?
There's no two new lots. It's only, you're just changing the color on the map. The two lots stay the same, but it does give at least 2.5 acres down there if he were to want to split off for a residential building.
On each lot?
No.
On each
just
parcel?
Yeah, but it would be here. And that would
This
be
whole
one.
thing is 2.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just, would you like me to walk
Potentially,
around?
could be one buildable lot on the south end.
One residential lot.
So at the other meeting, I think with Mr. Horvath mentioned that there's some provisions or conditions that will go along tied to this deed, like a deed restriction based on the type of use and will transfer to future owners. I'd just like some clarification on that, maybe from Pete, how that's memorialized and what those conditions are.
I cannot guarantee to him. I can't guarantee that there'll be a buildable lot there, but the color on the map could change. And I'm sorry, but I did not hear
I'm
there was
sorry,
another
I got
question.
ahead of myself. So the other night it was brought up that there's going to be conditional zoning, there's some deed restrictions on this. So going forward, there will be restricted uses based on the M1. And so I was just looking for some clarification on how that's memorialized, you know, in the deed process for, you know, future owners and uses.
We have not gone so far as to have deed restrictions placed on here. What's in the resolution that the Board of Commissioners are either approving or denying does reference all of those conditions, and we sent updated ones as of yesterday.
So I'm just curious, like in 50 years, when we, you know, 100 years when we're all gone, if it's not a deed restriction on the title of that property, how does that information carry forward and protect?
It's just in the district language for that particular piece of property.
In the district language?
That this property, as long as records are kept, and we'll keep them in the BSNA system there, when that parcel pulls up, it flags conditional rezoning. And we have that in the same way that we had the conditional rezoning in Perry. That one ultimately expired because it had a certain term to it.
So it's like a property description with an asterisk?
Essentially, it flags on our computer when that parcel pulls up.
And those conditions are what then, exactly?
I can't recall all of them. Think no, there's a certain uses restricted, such as sexually oriented businesses and others. There's providing landscaping in the south part of both parcels. And there's one other, I can't recall. I think there were three. Does anyone have a resolution that could take a peek at? The drawer. Well, that wouldn't have been necessarily that. I think Mr. Feitner, it was just restricting the number of uses and the additional.
Well, at the previous meetings at Woodhull Township, what kept coming up was we wanted to get into sex industry, that was brought up over and over again.
Right here.
Gravel pit, junkyard, it was just crazy.
Yeah,
So we addressed those issues at that time.
That's them, sexually oriented businesses, commercial airport, junkyard, sanitary landfill, gravel pit, plus the additional letter that references the landscape.
Evergreen trees, whatever.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Yes, sir.
to rezone as stated in our minutes, or on our agenda, except for the south 200 feet of each parcel currently described.
We can actually write out the motion, or
That-
Madam Clerk, amending,
Yes, that's a motion to amend.
this is a motion to amend, okay. We have to have a second for that.
You have to have a second.
Support.
I'll have a second, and the item is open for discussion.
Just
We're
one
not
follow-up.
discussing the amended item.
Yeah. I appreciate the deliberation, going to try and reach a compromise here. Just for all the reasons and the precedent, I think it's a step in the right direction, but I still won't be able to support it, though I appreciate everyone's willingness to think about some more constructive alternatives.
I suspect you probably represent the majority of those in attendance, and I'll do something quite unorthodox right now, just to give us a visual. For those residents who live in the area, generally live here, if you would support this motion after this proposed amendment, simply raise your hand now. Okay?
What's the,
So I'm asking, and you can't talk, but just if you think that this would make you a little alleviated, or if you're still in, and don't raise your hand if you don't support it whatsoever.
Let me read it again. My motion is to rezone, as he's asked, as stated, except for the south 200 feet of each parcel which borders Beard Road, which is what was suggested by one of your own, as currently described. So we're sectioning off. It won't be M1 along Beard Road. It'll be A2, whatever it's currently zoned. A2 residential.
Okay, we'll try again.
And those conditions will be.
And that would be the area that would have
Those,
the
yeah,
trees.
that conditional statement, if you feel comfortable with that, simply I'd ask you to raise your hand now if you feel moved to do so. So, two. Two or three. But thank you very much. So, but gentlemen, the majority, just don't want this going anywhere near them, and I think we understand that too. Okay, so I don't know if that'll factor into your decision making, but now you have a visual of who might support. At least 3 people would feel a little bit better. Fair enough. Just not everyone, including one of our commissioners, changes their mind.
The question on the motion will include the conditions in addition to the setback that were described.
All right, I give up.
Vote on the amendment. Okay,
To allow
voting
the
on whether to allow the amendment. If it fails, it goes back over to the initial.
Then you're back to the beginning.
Okay. Madam Clerk, roll call.
I call the question.
Got it.
Do a roll call on the amendment.
Yeah, whether we're gonna move to change.
Whether you're amending the motion.
We'll walk through this eventually.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes, to move the amended vote.
Chairman Marks is excused, Vice Chairman Marks,
No, and the amendment passes, and now we're discussing the amendment.
I just have one.
It's the existing motion.
It is now our existing motion. Make sure we get that down. Just for the record.
I just want to clarify that the motion includes not only the setback, but the 3 conditions that were just
We
identified.
can't enforce it.
There's more than 3.
Forward. He said we can.
The applicant has offered the conditions, they offered them in writing, they are in your resolution.
No, we voted on
Thank
it.
you. All right.
You wanna see that?
But you can call the question again if you want.
I'll call the question again.
And the question's been called, John.
Okay,
And we are gonna now vote whether we are voting on this issue once again.
Unless there's an objection.
Is there an objection, actually?
Let's call him.
Commissioner Bruff?
He just
I
clarified.
object, I don't think we're ready yet.
Okay, we have an objection, so now we. I hope we love the process.
Yeah, what a process.
When I
it's
called the
become.
question to vote, that we all, it was 4 to that to vote on, and so there's no more discussion.
Madam Clerk,
Don't
roll
you
call.
understand that?
Question's been called. A yes vote means we vote immediately on the,
Well, that has to be seconded.
oh, that's true.
That's what we did the
Anybody
first
seconded?
time.
I will second.
That's what we did the first time.
We'll do it again.
Okay, wait a minute.
You guys don't know how to run the thing.
Commissioner Holzhausen is calling the question.
And I have seconded.
On whether to close debate and go
And just vote. Because we can talk in circles till the end of time.
That was my first one.
I agree with you.
So we had 4 to call the question, so we should have voted.
Well,
Right?
you had to have the language turned into the clerk before
3 to 3 is
we're
official.
voting on it, so she can read, we can read what it actually is we're voting on. We weren't ready technically to vote.
Madam Clerk, roll call. Gentlemen, roll call is being voted on.
Call the question. This is what's being
Yes, it
voted on.
is.
Okay. Commissioner Holzhausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Brock.
Yes.
Chairman Barks is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes. Okay, gentlemen. With that, let's have.
So what was their opposition to it?
Because the amendment, because the language hadn't been turned in yet,
It just passed.
you have to read what it is before we vote on it.
Robert's rules of order. All right, and we have to follow it as per our organization. So now Madam Clerk, please call roll on, item B, on economic and physical development as amended.
Think we have that right?
And we will read it aloud for everyone to hear. Yes, yes.
Oh, the motion is adopt amendments to the Shiawassee County zoning map for property located in section 23 of Woodhull Township, parcel ID number 013-23-300-001-003 and 013-23-300-001-4 from A2 agricultural production / rural residential to M1 light industrial and authorize the board, okay, and light industrial and as further amended to rezone as stated to except for the south 200 feet of each parcel currently described.
Okay. Gentlemen? Madam Clerk, roll
This
call
is
vote.
the motion we
Yes,
are doing
ma'am.
the roll call on.
A yes passes the motion, a no fails it.
Okay. Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
No.
Commissioner Brough,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Chairman Barks is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes 5-1. We'll move on to item C.
Okay, Mr. Chair, item C, move to approve the minutes of the November 5th, 2018 Economic and Physical Development Committee meeting.
And we have a second to the motion. Any discussion, discrepancies on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passed. Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner McMaster. At this time, we'll take a 30-second recess to allow those who are here for one certain issue, if you want to filter out and to avoid noise and things, you're allowed. Some people don't feel like they get to leave in the middle of the meeting. If you want to stay, by all means, there's more on the agenda.
Woodhall Township, did you
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue the meeting. And at this time, we will move on to county finance and administration, and we'll turn the floor over at this time to Commissioner Root.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the fiscal year 2017 cost allocation plan and authorize board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Support. We have a motion and a support. Is there any discussion on this item? Madam Clerk, do I need a roll call on this issue?
Yes.
Okay. Hearing no other discussion, then I will allow you.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Brough.
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
Move to authorize purchase of a new server from Bell Connection in the amount of $17,500 to be paid from account number 258-704-000 and software licenses from Zone in the amount of $5,588 from account number 258-804.001.
Support. We have a motion and a second. Gentlemen, is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Brough.
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
Move to authorize building and ground superintendent contract with AAA furnace and duct cleaning in the amount of $4,800 to have the ducts in the jail cleaned.
Support.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion over this item?
Just have a question. The jail's not going to cave if we clean the ducts, is it?
Hey, something.
Hey, sorry, that's right. I have a question.
I'm sorry, I nipped a little levity here. Lighten it up.
Jail all last so.
Anything less depressing, Kevin? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Brough.
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
Move to authorize building and ground superintendent to purchase a generator for the Surbeck building and Atherton Road sales in the amount of $5,660.
Support.
Motion and a second. This item is open for discussion. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Olshausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Brough.
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I know this is late, but I thought that quote was for like 4,800 or something.
What about
The
the
duct cleaning's $4,800.
the duct one was 4,800? Yes, just above.
Oh, they're very close.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably the description.
I do have another question. What was the old one? Did you junk it, scrap it? Go ahead. Sorry.
That's right. Item E.
Move to adopt resolution 18-11-11 authorizing execution and delivery of an installment purchase agreement between Shiawassee County and Huntington Public Capital Corporation and authorize board chair to sign all necessary documents.
We have a motion, we have now a second. Is there any discussion over this item? Hearing none. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yep.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Brough.
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen.
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused. Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passed.
Move to authorize prosecutor to hire a legal secretary at salary grade 3, the range of $13.90 to $18.06 per hour, with the starting range being $13.90 to $14.94 per hour to fill vacancy.
Support. Motion, now second. Any discussion over this? Hearing none. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Brough.
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passed.
Move to authorize the sheriff's office to collect bids for a 48-foot by 32-foot pole barn storage facility to be constructed at its range site, Bennington Township. Select appropriate bids up to $40,000 in cost, and I'm going to change that to authorize the sheriff to execute all necessary documents.
Good idea.
Support.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion of the item? Questions, comments?
I just wondered if this is gonna be spot zoning. Did you get the picture of Bennington Township? That could be spot zoning. Did you sure you don't have to build a house there first?
No,
Did you check with them?
I don't intend to build a house there, just a pole barn.
I know, but a lot of places you gotta build a house before you build a pole barn. That's written in their rules.
We'll make sure we hold the appropriate permits
Oh,
prior to construction.
okay. Make sure you do that, okay? Thank you.
So collecting bids, is this a roll call issue or
I'm sorry.
we're not extra spending money or are we
This is the sheriff's one?
Yeah.
Yes, no, that'll take roll call.
roll call then?
You authorizing that?
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Chairman Barks is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
I move to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2018 Finance Administration Committee meeting.
Support. We have a motion and a second for the minutes. Any questions, discrepancies, anything like that? Hearing none. All in favor of putting them on file, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Put them on file.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Root. Now we'll move on to Public Safety and Courts, Commissioner Cascarelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item A, it's been moved to consider authorizing the Sheriff's Office to purchase a 2019 Ford Police Interceptor utility all-wheel drive with signature Ford in the amount of $29,942 with $28,065 to be paid out of the Capital Outlay Fund 101-301-970 and $1,877 out of the Training Fund number 101-301-956.
Support. We have a motion and a second for item A. Is there any questions, comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Chairman Barks is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passed.
Item B, has been moved to authorize the county coordinator to execute the revised Michigan Indigent Defense Commission compliance plan grant contract and continue in consultation with the board chair to execute leases and contracts and authorize hiring and expenditures under the plan in amounts not to exceed the funding provided through the MIDC compliance plan and grant contract.
Support. We have a motion and now a second. This item is open for discussion. Gentlemen? Hearing none. We'll go to roll call order on this one, Madam Clerk.
Sorry. Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
No.
Commissioner McMaster,
No.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Chairman Barks is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
No. The motion fails 3-3.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification then, since it's been turned down, next steps, where do we go from here?
We'll add that to other agenda items. That's a good question. Let's keep
And,
let's keep it moving. Let's
well,
keep
parts
it
are trying to improve.
keep it moving for now. We've gone on long enough. Item C.
Item C, thank you.
That's all
It's been moved to authorize the district court to hire a probation officer at salary grade 7, $37,668 to $48,963, starting at $37,668 to $48,497 to fill a vacancy.
Support. The motion and now a second. Item is open for discussion. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Chairman Barks is excused, and Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes. Item C, the motion passes.
Item D, move to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2018 Public Safety and Courts Committee meeting.
Support. Got a motion and support in the minutes. Any questions, comments, discrepancies? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We'll put them on file then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Cascarelli. Now we'll move on to Commissioner Root with Health and Human Services report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to authorize Health Department to contract with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for essential local public health services in the amount of $935,168 for the period of 10/1/18 to 9/30/19. Authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents. Support.
A motion and a second. This item is open for discussion. Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brough,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
Move to authorize the Health Department to contract with Dr. Dennis Sherman for medical director services in the amount of $37,200 for the period of 1/1/19 to 12/31/19. Authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents.
Support.
We have a motion and a second. Item is open for discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brough,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
Move to authorize the Health Department to contract with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality for environmental health services in the amount of $37,117 for the period of 10/1/18 to 9/30/19. Authorize Larry Johnson, Health Director, to sign all necessary documents.
Support. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion over it? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Commissioner Brough,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Chairman Barnes is excused, Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes.
Move to approve the minutes of the November 5th, 2018 Health and Human Service Committee meeting.
Support.
We have a motion and a second. Item is open for discussion. Any discrepancies, anything we want to talk about in the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of putting them on file, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passed.
Because the only one voted.
Put them on
That
file.
concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Root. At this time, we'll skip the chairperson report as he is absent today, and we'll move straight into other agenda items. And as we did move to approve agenda item A, I will accept a motion to approve Parent Construction's revised bid of $594,879, even as described in the 1106-18 proposed contract, and authorize the board chair to execute and contract any ancillary documents.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Item is now open for discussion. I would first like to say to the parent gentlemen here today, thank you for sitting through and being here today. I know they were called and asked to be present today by Chairman Bartz, though he is absent. They weren't exactly clear as to what their presentation ought to be, so I said, please stay and be here for any questions we may have. So that said, I believe we passed out this document to each of us. And so I want to be very clear as to what this is. The original bid was from November 6, 2018, set at $517,690 even. And you'll notice that now we're voting on a revised bid of $594,879. The extra money has come in from what appears to have been a wish list put together by the chairman who's absent today. Some of these things I had understood before the meeting were mandated by the city of Corona. However, I have learned since then that that is not the case. So we have to discuss right now. Hopefully,
I think page 2 is.
Page 2.
Is it?
I think they're,
Okay.
non-negotiable.
So page 2 we have to add. So that's a total of $13,615. Is that on top of the original bid?
That's correct.
Okay. So but that doesn't come up to the $594,000 that we're voting on right now. So here on this page, I guess we're gonna have to spend some time and going through on this wish list and deciding whether we're gonna do it or not. We can do that as a board right now. So, you have the floor.
Thank you. I guess maybe just hearing from them briefly, I think they could probably just give a quick highlight. knowing Jeff, I think he's worked very closely with parents. This is his line of work, so I put a lot of faith in what Jeff has to say when it comes to these kinds of things. And while it may be referred to as a wish list, sometimes, you know, there's economies of scale here. You've got all the equipment, you've got the personnel, and if we ever think we're gonna want them, now would be the obvious time to make those investments rather than wishing we would have 2 or 3 years down the road. So I know they do great work. They've been contracted by the county historically. So maybe hearing from them, their view of these add-ons and maybe the importance of them. And do you think it's a wish list?
Well,
Or
fair enough, Commissioner Coscarelli. It isn't that I spoke in ignorance, however.
Okay.
It was my understanding before the meeting that many of these items would prefer not to have been added by the parents, but you're right. I think, gentlemen, if you have
Just
something to
clarify.
say about these items.
Can I ask one quick question though before you?
Sure,
And
absolutely.
This total of $594,879, how does that compare to the second place bid? I mean, I had a little concern if they won the bid because they had the lowest bid, does this keep them at the lowest bid?
I think-
And should we not consider keeping them at the lowest bid?
Well, I think you would consider having them here. I mean, their number went up because we had, what is a Christmas wish list.
Exactly.
So if we'd had a different contractor here, their bid would be going up too, I would presume. After their last hour, right before a vote, we've got a massive, a bunch of extras. And you guys know how I take issue to last minute things. We railroaded through. It's one of the reasons why I ran for commissioner to begin with, is because I believe that the previous boards would wait till the 24th, 23rd and a half hour and then throw something on an agenda. It's through, done, over with, and now the county's living with it. And here we are here with a list of over 10 items that I've never heard about before today, and I'm chairing the meeting. And it's very convenient because the chairman's not here today. And I'd like to know, Madam Clerk, what is the reason he is excused from this meeting?
Yeah, I would too.
He should not be excused. I was never notified that I would demand that he not be excused from this meeting.
I mentioned it.
He's not excused. For the record, he's not excused from this meeting. He did not call any of us. He's skipping this meeting. And I think we all know why. And I think that lacks integrity. So back to you.
My only concern is I don't know if there's a legal issue here or not to accept a low bid, and then if this happens to go over the second bid, is there a legal issue there? And that's all I'm trying to avoid. I'm 100% behind you guys.
doing it because you have a bid and then you negotiate additions and subtractions. If you take on changes, then.
I want to say we were like 78,000, Aaron was lower than the others, so even with this wish list,
Yeah.
still.
And that would
I
be
think
my
it was,
only
it was
concern.
78,000, they were under.
Well, I have a little more concern than that, but that is a concern of mine. I just didn't want this to turn into a legal battle. Like I said, I'm 100% behind parent, but I just don't want to get into a money battle thing.
I got something to say.
Commissioner Olshausen.
Legally, we don't even have to take bids. I've been here before when they did work and we don't have to take bids legally. It was a challenge, so. I think we better just move forward and try to get.
To let cooler heads prevail as well, I'm not saying that some of these things might not be good ideas. That's why I wanted to open the floor so we can openly discuss. If we have to go down line item by line item here and say yes or no, and then vote on it, then I'd be open to doing that, but I would just.
interested in a little more context in the conversations that parent folks maybe had with Mr. Bartz to arrive at that list might help inform our discussion.
On the floor right now to describe what your conversations have been with the chairman would be fine. If you have anything to say about it at all, actually.
Sure.
Yep, correct, Yep, I can set her up.
And also if I could add, some of this stuff, like you said, some of the stuff you haven't seen, but I know, like I've had a conversation with Chairman Parks about some of this stuff.
That's good ideas.
On some of the stuff not, but now when it comes to those items, I'll chime in on what rationale was or what the discussion was.
Okay, you want to talk or you want me to talk?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. This plan here is the original plan. That was approved, and it's for the 517,000 mark, I believe. And this is the revised plan, under direction of Chairman Bartz and Tony Newman. And what we've done is We've taken and pulled the center office area out into the front, so we separated it from the large warehouse area.
Which moves up to here.
Yep, and we've lowered the roof structure out here. That actually saved about 13,000, I believe.
Scott's got item number 1, yeah, right here.
Yep. That actually saved 13,000. Then number 2, they requested an additional toilet in the buildings and grounds area, which is back here for a total of 8,500. The number 3 is an ad for extending the building height in the warehouse from a proposed 14 foot, which is what this is, to 16 foot approximately. And what that it does is it allows them to pull the truck and trailer with a backhoe in without unloading, as to my knowledge.
And Commissioner Newman said he could live without that. Okay. And the whole idea with that is, backhoe's not working, but you get it up on the trailer, pull it in and work on it. If not, you're gonna not, you unload it, drive it in, or you unload it and you chain it in. And Tony said he could live without that.
I just thought, I talked with him too, and we kind of come to the conclusion that we gotta cut some things down.
Right, and he said he was okay with it.
Those things we can live without, so.
Number 4 is ad for increasing the gravel parking area from the proposed 16,700 square foot to a total of 24,380 square foot, an increase of 7,680 square foot, which the initial plan that we were given from Chairman Bartz had sizes of the gravel parking listed on it. That's what our quote was based from. And then once it started becoming a little more concrete, then the areas increased to these areas here, which is gravel all the way around the whole building and on the ends. And then with the building being shoved back from its plan location, it actually increased the size of this gravel drive going back to it, so that increased your square footage also.
Pause right there, 'cause I know Jeff made comments about this and Gary's talked about this and I've been out there. What was the reason that we're pushing it back instead of having it closer up?
They, just to save room on the property. Just to bring it back, use all the usable property in the back end here.
For future development.
For
They
future
make that-
development,
Yeah.
yeah. Rather than keeping it way up
Gary
here.
has concerns about that though, don't you?
Yeah, well, that property, I was out there and I cleared all the brush and trees off that property and I brush hogged it. And you get back there and that property's low back there and if we strip it off, we can build it up, you can use it maybe for some storage of pipe and stuff like that. And I guess I'm maybe not a ladies person, but maybe I am, because when they move that building up there, if we decide to move it ahead somewhat, and we moved it ahead a little bit, but my condition is when you get up there higher, it's more flatter ground, otherwise we're gonna have to fill, like some places, the original one was about 5 foot, an extra expense, and they move it ahead, it's still gonna be 3 or 4 foot, and if you move it ahead, it's all gravelly and sandy, and also if we move it just a little bit out in front, otherwise, I would say the ladies, and maybe men, they'll look out in front, they just look at some trees. This way here, you gotta move it out in front just a little bit more, and in time, they can look at the road and different areas ahead. And also, you're eliminating a lot of fill, so we're killing 2 things for 1 thing and saving money.
And then that
keeping
saves on the
everybody
next
happy.
3 items, which is the.
Yeah.
That's
water
right.
lines.
As you start pulling this building from the southern border to the north, it starts actually your next 2 items, your additional water main, your additional sanitary sewer, that number starts going down.
Can I see that board?
So we're helping everybody, and we still got acres and acres of ground there, so another 50 foot is not gonna hurt.
So if I can ask the parent folks, just from your professional experience and the site conditions and being out there, so what's your view of that?
Pull it as far
Change.
forward as you can.
Pardon?
Pull it as far forward as you can live with. If you drive out there and look where they want to shove it all the way back to, from the front of the building to the back of the building, it's a 4-foot drop. So in reality, what we have to do is we have to import sand and bring it in, and not only the building footprint, but there's also the footprint of the parking lots and everything.
Do you happen to know how much square footage is gained by pushing it back? that leaves in the future footprint? And if do we gain, 20,000 square feet? Is it?
Well, you could do a
Is
calc
this
off
the
of that.
scale?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so so 148. I should have maybe the middle one here, but maybe let's.
We just gotta move it forward, just say
Yeah.
another half acre is not gonna be.
Well, that's like I said, we're trying, is it a half acre?
Yeah.
Would they consider it
Yeah.
probably?
Okay, so
I mean, you guys
it'd be.
We got 23 and a half acres there, but no, you put it on this one.
1,000 square feet you gain.
I've been around building and.
No, that's helpful, thank you. If you're saying it's roughly half acre,
If we move it forward,
Probably.
about 20,000
plus or
square
minus,
foot.
that gives me what I need, thank you.
We jump it back there, kind of keep it on the forest
and allow more property right there in the central area.
Sure, that's what I was just trying to get to, how much.
But then it gets you in the lowland. You bring it up out of there.
It's a half acre.
Bring it up
3 acres.
closer, it's less.
So,
Yeah.
so you got 100 foot going here, you got maybe like 160, 170 going here.
And it also affects number 12
Here.
also.
They said move it already. Let's move that, let's move that.
We're gonna get
Move it
that.
up, we're moving up.
All right, we decided, okay, so let's just, we're through what? We're on 7 now?
7, that actually
Let's-
goes,
Let's pause at 7, real quick.
Okay.
Number 1, deduct the cost, okay, so does that stay the same if we, no matter what?
no matter what.
Okay,
Yes.
so 1 is a go, circle it, great. Number 2, additional bathroom. Gentlemen, do we need it, yes or no?
Tim, did you say additional?
Okay, well,
Extra
Yeah,
bathroom?
I would say maybe a bathroom, because
Get a bathroom.
everybody's got potty problems, so.
So everybody,
They want to put it back in the shop for the workers, so they don't have to go up in the front and use it.
makes sense, fine. Keep the bathroom, the circle the bathroom.
We can't eliminate everything, but the.
Have we decided officially to eliminate item number 3? Okay, I vote yes.
Yes.
So that's
I would yes, gone. 3.
Item 4, increase
well,
gravel.
hold on a minute. Tim, do you have a problem with that?
What's that?
Going from the 14, or
The
16
16,
down to 14?
No, I never had a
problem
one way or the other.
Done.
Okay.
Item 4. Yes or no?
Gone.
Gone, gravel,
Well, they're still gonna have to have some fill there. That's not gonna limit.
you're gonna have a hard time getting rid of your gravel, extra gravel,
So-
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep the gravel,
Yes.
and that would be my gravel.
If you look at the site plan, where, you start cutting your gravel, this number here is gonna get better as you move it, but I don't know how you're gonna get away without gravel here.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
We'll keep,
at least we know
And
5 and
this
6,
is-
one of those buildings will be cheaper.
I'm not sure how much it's
Right here, this is what we're getting. This was all gravel.
No,
right
5
here.
and 6 are, just they have to have a lot of true in the building.
Here.
But just now, the cost of extended,
I was told it was back here.
No other way to
We're gonna do that, you know.
I'll be down with it.
Yeah, so it'll burn this no good land.
He didn't call me, I did not walk in here with
Okay.
English.
Yeah, Brandon.
All right, so item 4, we say yes.
Said okay.
Okay on that, so then 5 and 6 are no's, but they're now less. Because we have to have water and sewer, right? But if we're
Right, that's
moving
gonna
it up,
shorten, that's gonna shorten.
That's gonna shorten up and,
okay?
yeah.
That could
So now-
possibly zero those out,
Okay.
and if you
That's
even
right.
move it far enough, it'll actually kick money back into it.
Okay, all right, so
Let's do that.
yeah, back to item 7 now.
Well, that's more than what we're saying.
Item 7 is actually contingent on moving the building up too, because that's at its site restoration for being back where it was.
Item 8.
No, 7.
Well, we just
8.
said 7 kind of goes along with the other stuff, so we're on 8.
Item 8 is converting the 40 by 60 office area to a conventional style building with foundations in lieu of pole type structure, which
I think that's fair.
this is all pole structure.
Right.
And so-
Wing there,
Be
I
Yes.
think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
My opinion is.
It'd be a 40 by 60.
For $10,000, you get an office area.
So if you take number 1, you deduct the 13 and that 10, you're still 3,000 is good
Okay.
by converting that over.
Gentlemen, any opinions on the?
Works for me.
They're pretty much tied together, aren't they?
Item
They
8.
kind of are,
Yeah.
kind of.
Item 9. Air conditioning?
No, that ain't no air conditioning. I work in Western.
9 is a yes.
That's in the shop area, not in the office.
Oh, in the shop, gentlemen. Shop.
So they're still in the office.
Yeah.
So they just go in and cool down in the office and.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Is that,
They ain't gonna work out there anyway.
in the?
Let's get them some of
in the,
those cooling fans. We just-
In the shop
moisture-
area? Is that-
Wait,
is that
well,
all insulated?
Tim, how much time in the summer?
Yes.
How much time are you actually in the shop?
Probably not good as
So we don't
So
need air
what are your
conditioning.
thoughts?
does not matter to me one way or the other.
Could you jump in your truck and do
We
it?
can always add some sissy, down the road.
Okay, item 9, I'll say off. No,
Yeah.
I'll be the bad guy. Item 10.
Item 10 is adding 5-foot deep sidewalks around the perimeter of the office building, which is up this west side, across the north, and down the east. Of
We
course,
almost have to have that, don't we?
well, when the original was proposed, there was no office building to go around, so then when that bumps out, it creates a need for it.
So we'll keep
That's
item
for
10.
shoveling.
That's right.
There you
More
go,
salt,
Tim.
more salt.
Get more shovels.
Item 11, ADA compliance, that just sounds like we absolutely have to do.
No.
No, it is
No,
not.
No, that's it.
Nobody in the
It's a
county's got
requested
showers when they need to.
That's a shower back
Hold
in
on
the
here,
shop.
everyone dispatches their
What
shower.
we don't need is a unisex shower.
That's what we got, that's what it is, right there.
This
Right
is
next to the
how-
unisex. Oh, come on, Tim. Tim needs that.
Item 12.
9 and 11 were, it's
Hold
on.
on, hold on here.
It's
All
on.
right,
Oh, yeah, 12.
I just want you to think about this. I love it. I just want you to think about this. You're in the jail, excuse my French, but you're dealing with sewer and everything else because there's always problems. Then do you run home, take a shower? Do you run down there to take a shower?
Tim doesn't shower.
Well, that's how much you be boys.
Garden hose, not back.
I don't know.
I don't think we need it.
I'm for it, but then again, we have to watch our money, but.
I suspect my voters would say they don't
Okay,
need a
well,
shower.
what happens when they're drenched in fuel?
I mean, I agree, I understand what you're saying.
If it becomes an issue, you can always add it later.
There we go. I would say my voters
The
would say.
wash station outside.
Yes, that's what I was just thinking. Just a little wooden fence or.
Oh, that's a
Will that be stuff?
Yeah, it's
Pardon
be a
me?
retention
Will
pond.
that be
Maybe
stuff
stack
that
it
later?
real
We're
quick.
good, sure.
Just make sure we get a spigot on the side.
You just stub it in, it's just come off the.
We're gonna have a couple outside spigots.
Is there anyone that feels like they gotta have a shower?
Did you hear what he said? He could stub it in.
For
So,
future.
so for future use,
It would be in the
somewhere
floor, and
between.
then if you ever wanted to open it up, you could open it up
That
and
works.
put it in.
That works.
It's good.
That's all right, that's a good idea.
It's dirty in the garden. This is
So now we know what's really for.
Now we're-
Item 12.
Item 12, that is the install of 1,680 cubic yards of compacted sand fill to raise the existing building and parking lot areas to the new finished floor height, which that happened when it was shoved to the back of the property. So as we move that forward, that number starts going down.
So that's really
Yeah,
nice.
and we also decided, even though we move it forward on the higher spot, they said sometimes we could always drive down to it, but we're gonna still keep it up above the ground a little bit, the highest, whatever it is, for the blacktop.
We
In
did,
there.
we did, yeah, we did talk, we
Yeah.
did talk briefly about lowering the finished floor of the building. So when you pulled into the site, you would be up here, go down a slight grade to get to the building and have those areas sloped with your ditches going to the retention pond, which there's a lot of buildings like that. 20 Young's dealership sets down in there. I don't know, there's quite a few of them down.
Yeah, a
The
lot of places
Payless
do
shoe
that.
stores
Oh, man.
on the corner there sets down in. So that's an option if you didn't want to spend the fill.
Yeah.
If you're gonna spend the fill, money on the fill, then I'd get that up and you wouldn't drop it like that.
You can never get too high. I mean, I've been around construction all my life, and you just wanna keep it up there, so. Whatever, a few, $4,000 or $5,000 to keep the sand up there is well money spent.
Alright, so can we help you get the notes on this, is there anything you go way down? Alright, you
moving targets, there's gonna be little problems about that or reduction.
So with the ones we took out, it looks like we got the 63.5 down to 49.6. And I'm assuming moving the building and all that, some of those like 5, 6, 7, and 12 are gonna go down anyway. So it's gonna be less than 49.
So how do we change, do we have to amend the motion because it's an exact number? How do we, can we just say up to that number?
What does he want to do, Chuck?
Well, then it would appear that we're gonna come in lower than what we have on the agenda. So how would we change the agenda so that reflects the cost?
You can, because this is being presented tonight, as opposed to the one that's carried over, so you don't have to move to amend it, you can just present the motion in that manner.
And if it comes in under, great.
Yeah, you can authorize up to a certain amount, or you can.
584 right now, which we continue with the city front as to, which will be less than that once those other people are down.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. It's still unclear where we landed on the air conditioning.
We said,
Well, I can see that if we're upgrading to an office area, it would seem to make sense we'd at least provide air conditioning.
needs the office, the shop. The air was for just the shop.
Right.
Oh, for buildings, so we do have air in.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a,
I asked the city. We're not, that's a good point.
We're gonna have a sweatshop, you guys.
Nope, these questions gotta
well,
be asked, gentlemen, this is our only choice.
this is all air conditioned, and then this is the office for the buildings and grounds, which has air. And they want, and this was the workspace, this was gonna get the air. So, either works.
And it's not insulated like a house, so the air is really gonna inject electricity up and stuff.
Okay. All fair enough. Yeah,
Okay, I have two questions, but more of a timeline. So there's all this fencing that's rolled up right here.
Okay.
When does that have to be moved? That's where you have the earth to
I wouldn't think immediately. We're gonna go, what we wanna do is go to that, strip that site, and get the building ready to go. So we could work around that.
When's this gonna be done?
What's that here?
Yeah.
Oh, that will be done, that's gonna be done yet this year.
You wanna come out?
It'll be all set, all done, right?
That's right. What we wanna do is we don't have anything.
I didn't say I never invited to the party, so out your chest.
Start on the foundations, get everything up to grade, we're gonna bring the water line in, and bring the sanitary sewer.
No, you don't discuss it, we're gonna talk about it on the field.
We're gonna go out here and tap on, and that's gonna be the sanitary line.
How deep is that gonna be?
That's gonna be, we're gonna start off at about 8 foot, by the time we get back to probably about 5 foot.
How deep is this?
So should we take it to,
I believe it's, 6 to 8
the
foot.
number in this one might have been decided?
Yeah,
944.
And yeah, there was some
What do you
fencing
think?
sitting there, but,
With the hard
when
ones,
we get there, we need to move it, we know what, I bet you could.
plus bronze,
So-
13,000.
As I
Gets the
said,
bid up to.
so this water line that runs here,
944, but we
The
know
hooks
those
into
four
here.
other items
That's
are gonna
correct.
come down substantially.
Yeah, it's right here, comes right
So should
across
we
here.
set it at that price?
Commissioner, how do you feel about
What you
that?
can do is
That's a 12
How do
inch.
you could
existing water line.
have them
There.
Get it done?
create a new contract.
okay, so what I'm from the
So authorize preparation of a new contract
We were already told that.
in alignment with the
come out here and tap on.
changes you make.
Bring that to the,
And
bring a new line.
you could do a couple things. You could authorize somebody to execute it if they reviewed it and it meets those conditions and it's a certain amount.
This line right here.
Or
Well,
have them execute a new contract and I guess hold it over to
We don't wanna do
December.
this. Everybody matters.
Well, it doesn't. I agree with you.
They want just, we wanna start getting in there, we're gonna start next week.
If they can give you a price,
What we need you to do is,
Mr. Chairman, if they can give you a
So
I
price.
don't know if they're in the
You
list.
should agree to
They
it.
would.
That's our predictive.
I agree.
Moving the building half an acre, what's gonna change?
yeah, we don't know, so they don't know. So we should approve up to an amount.
You can
You
do
were
that.
talking about whether
You
you
can
do
do
it
it.
right in here.
And we'll cover it under some addendums.
See, that's, the plan is if this is the jail, there's an employee service for up here, and then there's gonna be a drive.
That thing usually goes down.
Public drive, like
It could go down, 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 if we had it, you know,
Do a little bit of cross getting down.
I'm just worried about.
Well, I'd say that
somebody
that
who's
water
trying to
line,
build a-
cost travel, it's like those trees down through there.
Yeah, so what can we?
And actually, they just take your week flag. Yeah.
Hey, we wanna know what all the discussions are.
Ha.
The
new jail.
Okay.
Well, it's not.
Here, I another talk, another day. No,
Okay, well, that's what we're talking about. The road's gonna go on top of the water line. So maybe we need to think about that. And I don't know.
Maybe the jail's not even gonna go there.
It may not. It may not.
Well, you can
It's
drive
gonna be
over, you can drive over water lines all day. I mean,
What's that?
You can drive over water lines, they gotta be down below frost anyway, so it's not gonna hurt anything.
I mean, that line
Just
is
needs
there,
a rail.
this water line.
All right, gentlemen.
That's full.
I call the question.
Yeah, we can.
We're
starting to get restless here, so.
That thing runs down through here.
We have a direction that we want to move. I think we were very open.
Who does it?
To this in public anyhow.
I know. I was told. Okay.
My only thing would be, I would ask if 5, 6, 7, and 12, you guys can get a number on that, or you're not gonna know until you start.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7.
Those are extending the, the water and sewer lines, and then the added site restoration due to the building location, Those were kind of the ones that were question marks that were still probably gonna be costs, but not as high as they are right now. Okay. Or at least just a rough estimate so that we can get something signed right away, and then so we can keep going.
Well, we need to locate where the building's gonna get set, so we're gonna pull that another 60 foot up?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have to go out and,
That's written in sand.
okay.
That's
We'll,
written
give us about a week, we can get some numbers put together for you, a week or less.
And we'll just, what we said, we prove up to us. Let's get this done this month, because every month will matter.
Yeah, can we get some sort of motion that gives our vice chairman then the authority to execute this? We don't know if that chair's gonna be involved or not, so. What you like to pass now?
And we don't have another meeting till the middle of December.
What you can do is authorize it to be executed by the board chair or by the vice chair.
We'd like to be started in a week.
Yeah, so we're gonna
Board
approve
chair,
this,
vice chair,
and those numbers we'll negotiate with the chairman, and I'll look after it, because I understand those things, so. And we're working with fair people, so we're not.
I think that before I'll sign anything, you
Yeah.
all should have a look at it. I'm not signing nothing if it's me, until you've all seen what we're looking at. That's my.
Well, don't you have kind of the figure in your hand? I mean,
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we kind of know what, I mean, I'm comfortable with you doing it. I mean, I think we kind of went through this, what we were,
I trust
what we're
that.
considering going down, and
All right, so how do we have to reword, we have to make an amendment, what do we do here?
Again, because this motion wasn't brought forward, and you guys agreed to do it tonight, you can present the motion in the manner in which you want to do it.
And who was the initial individual who made
It does not,
it? Necessary.
it can be any.
Does anyone disagree with the wording to get it done? Thank you, Kevin. Any other discussion on the item? All right, Madam Clerk, let's roll call this. To execute, do we got a roll call, spend money, or?
Well, no, you got a roll call, but you got a roll to.
Yeah, we'll vote on for sure.
So,
I would say we move to approve Perrin's revised bid with the addition of the $13,615 and 3 items that are mandated by the city of Corona. And items 1, 2, 4, 8, 10, and with 5, 6, 7, and 12 to be reduced in cost. And that's the best I can.
Yeah.
I think we-
Where's that sheet? Could you hand that to Commissioner? Here. Right there, please.
sorry, I'm gonna put it in here somewhere.
Oh, and 9. 3, 9, and 11, for sure. No air conditioning, no shower, no 2-foot iron.
increasing. Three, 9, 11, for sure. And all the other, any other things will be negotiated as we work forward.
Should've just did the full price and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You could do that. You could approve it at full price with the, with at least X amount of dollars, to be reduced as discussed at the meeting.
Yeah.
That way,
Yeah.
that way you won't have to see your try
That
to
way, if we
calculate.
type one number wrong here next time.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that?
Fair enough.
You approve the contract as proposed, except that, to be modified, and that can be done with addendums to the contract, except to be modified, as discussed at the November 8, 2018 meeting.
Sure.
I wanna make
Does that
sure
sound
she
good to
gets
you
a
guys?
comprehensive list.
What's that?
Does that sound all right?
Yeah, that sounds okay.
So that when people
Yeah.
go
Right, so you could, they could
here's
approve
what
it and
they
leave
what
it a
did
change
they talk
order,
Sure.
eliminating some and
Yeah.
and then another change order.
And to be dependent upon the approval of the board chairman or the vice chair, when the addendum is presented to be signed.
Change orders or.
It's treated as change orders, yes, exactly. It's treated as change orders.
The list, I just wrote that down actually, because I had it all scribbled all over to our clerk.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michael had to get with her at some point, even if it's via email, just say, this is what exactly was
Yes.
added. So she can get it in the minutes.
Okay, yes, we'll do that. That's what you
For
do.
the public.
You just have any change orders. In other words, they can start, because this stuff
Yes.
is being added right away. And they'll get you the language on the change orders, which then reduce the price.
Sure.
Very good.
And then you approve the change orders.
We want them signed as soon as possible,
Okay,
as soon as they come in, so that we're not holding them up.
all right. Ready for vote?
Who's writing the resolution? You write it down?
Well, I was writing mine, but they had complicated
Who
things, so.
seconded it?
We don't have a second
Okay.
yet, but I will second it.
Okay.
Hearing no others. I think we're just-
I don't even know what the motion is.
The motion is going to be,
I don't even know what we're doing right now.
Call the vote.
to approve Parent Construction's revised bid of $594,879 as described in the 2018 proposed contract, and authorize the board chair or board vice chair to execute the contract on any ancillary documents.
Good, done, yes.
With the reductions that were discussed.
With
at
the
November
reductions
8th
that were
meeting.
discussed.
With an addendum of change orders to be executed by the chair or vice chair.
We want to make sure that the clerk has it right.
Yes.
So we'll wait. We'll make sure she gets it.
But that way they can start.
We'll read
seeing
it out
acceptable
loud before we
change
vote,
orders.
as is the right thing to do.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I had a big election, really?
I know,
It's
trust
like-
us, we know.
My brain is like, on overload. Okay, with addendum to change orders. Want to write it? My brain is better when you're ready. Here, just cross my.
So not today.
So we're waiting now?
No, we're gonna wait, we're gonna read it out loud, so all of us can hear. How about the public?
I'm not wanting to do earlier.
I know, I'm about to jump out this window down the street.
We're gonna start again.
We sound confused, but we know exactly what to do.
We know
So are you looking forward to this, Mr. Warden? Come sit right here.
Yeah, you said. So you're gonna start at the high number and then do change orders to get you down to the lower number. Which is just what we just discussed. Right. Yeah.
Right.
And then a couple of them will be adjusted from moving the building up.
See how simple that was?
That's what we're writing down. Government's never simple, that's for sure.
That's right, we want to be transparent.
Yes. That's right.
As Commissioner Cascarelli would say, it's all about the process. And we got there. All process.
What I want to know is why Rory Kimball sit through all this crap.
What are you afraid of?
A lot.
She went over, I less so for surviving this meeting.
Under
Sure.
Yes.
I think you're crazy, but hey, you know,
Well,
I wish I wasn't sitting.
right back
through
at
all
you.
this. Yeah, I think I am.
Just please don't leave without signing your weekly minutes for me, please. Cheers. Because I know you're all gonna be running for things.
Yeah, I'm gonna just run out, I'm gonna jump out the window.
I probably didn't do that.
God.
I've got this for you.
Start signing these signs. What's this, Larry stuff?
Yes.
Oh, no. Reject that unless he's here.
You got something for me to sign too, you might as well send it. Madam Clerk.
All right, this is a bit problems, because it's,
How did it change from what he said? He said like two things.
because he can talk locally.
Yeah, layman.
All right. Approved Parent Construction's revised bid of $594,879 is described in the 11/06/18 proposed contract with change orders as described at the 11/08/18 meeting, reducing the price, with the board chair or vice chair in his absence to approve and sign the revised contract with the referenced addendums when received.
As soon as possible. Right away.
Well, it's everybody's advantage to do it.
Double time.
Yeah.
Yesterday. So moved.
Oh. That is-
Do you need a support?
Well-
Support.
Commissioner Bruff with the second.
Okay.
And is there any discussion?
Please.
Madam Clerk, when you
Now
are
I'm
ready.
doing a roll call.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Holzhausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Root.
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Bruff.
Yes.
Chairman Bartz is absent. And Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, this motion passes. And with that, we'll move on to other agenda items. I know Commissioner Cosgrove, you have the floor. You do.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, you've all
Thank you.
circulated thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
A proclamation. I've worked closely with Mayor James Hugel at the City of Perry over the last couple of years I've been serving. He brought to my attention that one of his council members, Mr. Thomas Chapin, decided not to run for re-election. He's the longest serving city council member. 17 years. He's on the community district library board and other things, which is meeting's still going on.
Here.
Okay, we gotta get to yours.
So, you have a copy of the proclamation, so, it just, I think, I feel a bit remiss. I think this commission doesn't do enough of this. I think a lot of volunteers, residents of our community spend a lot of time investing in what it is we do here and what community is about. So anyway, I think maybe those going forward want to think about paying a little more attention to the importance of these kinds of proclamations for our residents. So with that, I would move to accept or adopt this proclamation recognizing the service of Mr. Thomas Chapin.
Motion in a second. there any discussion on the item? We have reading it out loud.
Are you gonna actually read it or not read it?
No, this will be presented by the mayor to
Oh.
Mr. Chappett at
Oh.
the December Christmas party.
Oh, okay.
So thank you. A little out of sequence, but I wanted to keep these moving. Sorry.
So I agree. I think we should do more of that, and the future commission should do more of that. I know the city of Shiawassee does a lot of these, and it feels good. They're little feel-good things, you know. It's easy, simple thing to do to recognize somebody, and we should be recognizing people for their service. So I think that's an excellent idea. And I do know for a fact it happens a
We've
lot.
done this to several county employees, I know they're retired.
It seems like it's
Businesses too, I did it.
We forget about those things, yeah. We get wrapped up in making heavy-duty decisions when we really miss the good stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Fun
That-
stuff.
It was always done in December when I came in. Those stopped in 2016. The December 2016, the recognition of all employees that
Yeah.
have been there for so long and or retiring throughout the year. So that's something Shiawassee would be able to.
Well, December, we always used to do it. We'd have cookies, punch, and, recognize everybody that retires. I don't know why that kind of fell off, but.
And this is a resolution. So.
Yes, so we do have to roll call vote. Is there any other discussion on the item? Hearing none.
Commissioner Root,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster,
Yes.
Commissioner Cascarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Brough,
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Chairman Mark is absent, and Vice Chairman Marks.
Yes, motion passes. Is there any other agenda items that we'd like to discuss today, gentlemen? Hearing none.
I have a question.
Okay.
Budgets,
Oh, yeah.
where are we at draft budget?
Yeah, that's.
We have the draft budget. I actually don't know why we didn't put that out. Actually, she had those sheets and everything.
I know.
We didn't get them out.
No, I don't have.
No, yes, she did. She had them back. She finished them just
We
before
do have it
we
all
started.
together with,
What we can do is
everything
just
together.
email it.
Yeah, we'll have to email it out to everybody. What we do have to do is consider some changes. What we did was we compiled everything that everyone gave us as their wish list right now. As their wish list stands right now, and with the added expense of MERS and the COLA, we are sitting, and I don't really want to say this on camera, but we're sitting at about $2 million in the hole. So we really need to cut into, I mean, the million of it is COLA. The million of it right off the top is the MERS, the COLA. So we're really, there's $1 million in services that might have to look at some changes or changes to them. But also to remember is that we would not use any money out of the delinquent tax fund. So that million, the 2 million it's showing is with zero being transferred out of the tax delinquent fund, which is about 9 million. So there is stuff to support us, but I don't think our good government is to continue to rely on that fund to keep us propped up. But, so we do need to look at that. Do need to get creative. I know there's a lot of people that wanted positions. I know the clerk needs a position. I mean, we're gonna have to really get creative in the next month here on figuring out what exactly we wanna do. I mean, so, yeah.
Just a quick question. I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
I thought we were going to finance that MERS debt over like 10 years at $120,000 or $150,000.
160.
Or 160,000.
COLA. COLA was gonna be, was it COLA 160?
Yeah.
COLA for active and, well, people who aren't retired yet, is adding $162,000 a year. The total amount put forward to unfunded liability is like $967,000. This covers a lot of people that
And we have to pay that?
that haven't been, well, over time. It's not paid in all in 1 year, not the unfunded liability. But basically, it's adding $162,000 a year right off the top to the payment, and we do have, it will up our unfunded liability payment, which right now is running $175,000 per month.
So do we owe the two, so you say we're 2 million in the hole, so.
Well, we're not really, these are what people want. You know, I mean, we haven't balanced it with what are we gonna take out? Like, the health department wants
So,
their
so
additional
everything,
that probably
wish list,
yes,
COLA,
everyone's
all
wish
that's
list,
2
COLA,
million.
everything that's where we're at. That's where we're looking at and where we've gotta start prioritizing what we wanna chip away and what we don't think is essential, what we do need, what we can live without. And that's gonna, there'll be some tough decisions, and from here now, I've also thought, you know, maybe the finance committee's gonna need to have some special meetings between here and December to maybe meet and get this, because I mean, that's a bigger number than I expected, so. And we really need some services that we need to have offered, and so we've got to.
On the revenue side, though, there was the Headley increase, right?
Yeah, it goes down every year.
Yeah, it's
I
going up a
thought we
little.
voted to uncap that.
Yeah.
And it resulted in, there was a vote to,
Yeah, last July, they kicked
That
it
was
again.
not this year, that was last year.
Yeah, it's already
Yeah,
back.
it's already. moved
It's
down.
It's already down again.
And then it goes down every year.
okay.
That's what I've been telling everybody for the last year.
But I mean, we still are doing well on all that, and, you know, more money's coming in than it has in all the other years. We're still continuing to do better there. It's just, we need to prioritize the wish list. I think the MERS is the biggest thing that's really
Yeah.
killing us, but that's gonna go up every year anyways, and that's gonna continue to go up and up and up.
All right.
So yeah, we're not we're not bankrupt, we're not, you know, I just throwing these out there, you know, everybody will get the sheet, we'll email them out so you guys can see, but we're not going broke, we have plenty of money to shore this up and get us where we need to be, it's just, we need to prioritize what we want. And again, we were trying to do zero out of delinquent tax. You've got to remember that usually about $1 million's taken out of delinquent tax, to anywhere from $500, $750 to $1 million is taken out of there, usually to shore up the budget, to get the budget kind of, you know, balanced. So,
But this year.
we thought we could do it, we figured we would have it, but I think we did some technology updates that were needed. We're looking at this building cost now, you know, there's a lot of things that kind of came out, and I think my thought was, I guess if we're gonna do it, might as well do it now and not do it over 3 or 4 years. We might as well try to do it now. So I knew that was gonna be a hit, but I wasn't expecting the MERS stuff to.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. Yeah.
I'll go back to my fee increase idea on certain items.
Which I think should be discussed probably if we have some special meetings in finance committee to move forward.
I've been busy.
I know you've been busy, I know you've been busy.
I mean, I forgot-
That's why I'm not saying anything, but
Yeah.
I've been talking to some other department heads. Obviously, you have a lot in your department that we can raise, some of these departments like Lori's, we can't. But, you know, maybe we need to look at some of that stuff, to offset it. Everyone else's costs are going up. So,
Again, I just want to stress for the media, we're not in a budget deficit, we don't have money, we're not cutting, sir, we just want to see what we need to, we want to use as less as possible from our delinquent tax fund, and if we can prioritize that with what we have, rather than using it to just short. Because I mean, we could just as easily say, we'll take the $2 million from the delinquent tax, boom, we're fine, everybody gets their wish list, everybody gets everything they want, boom, done. And still have, you know, $7 million in delinquent tax fund. $4 million of which needs to be in there to operate and maintain that fund, so you're left with the $5 million anyway, so, but. It can go fast, so.
Any other discussion? Hearing none.
motion to adjourn.
Well, we're gonna give the second opportunity for the public real quick. Is there anybody that would like to address the board?
Adjourned.
Hearing none. Adjourned.
I'd like to
Steve.
Oh, hey, you have an issue.
Hold on.
We have an MIDC compliant plan in place right now. This one was meant to replace it. If we don't replace it, we got bound by the old.
All right, well, the meeting's adjourned. We're adjourned, so we do need to worry about that, I guess. But I'm adjourned, I'm not going back. It's over.